Hey, good morning, and how are you guys doing today? I hope amazing. So, we're back working on our book, Echoes of the Cosmic Veil. Of course, we're all the way to chapter 5, and so we're going to be revising today. Um, oh, it looks like shit. We have a whole crap of revision to do in this section. So, this is obviously a bigger chapter with lots of stuff going on. I'm going to get chat up. We'll start working on this. It looks like I left myself a shitload of stuff, including just some stuff that's roten. I don't know, like partially. So, this is where we find that we had places that we moved on from without resolving shit out. Hope you guys are doing just epic this morning. Hold on one second. I will have chat all the way up. Got it up. And we are rocking now. Okay. Boom. Okay, Sam receives multiple injections of nanites which are needed to connect. Okay. Let me. Obviously, we didn't get ourselves there. And we are going to just jump to the next day in such a manner. Mm. Honestly, a little bit confused on what I'm going to do here. The next day is arrived at the medical facility. Oh, let me think about this. I'm going to drink some coffee before I just write some shit because honestly, I don't want to screw this up. The next day, as soon as I arrived at honestly, I got to think about this. I don't know how I want this written. I'm waking up still. I think we've got this. I hope you guys are kicking butt today, but okay, Sam receives multiple injections of nanites, which he needs to connect the link. Also, better dialogue with the doctor. Doctor establishes a temporary connection to retrieve the data. Then, after they get the info, make sure. Oh shit! This is. I don't like this at all. Okay. The Oreos. Hold on, I gotta look this up. Oreos. I apologize for that. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, the next day I awoke and made my way through the hustle and bustle of the early morning activities of DRS. Prepped. Prepped. Is that prepped? No, I don't use the word prepped. How are we misspelling this, right? Prepped for the exam. Oh, prepped. One more P. Why does that look weird? Obviously, we need to be using some of these words more. Prepped for the exam. Okay. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. I arrived only to find the doctors were fully prepared for the implant. Started me off with multiple nanite injections. Okay, receives multiple nanite injections. Drop that out. Okay, let's look over this. Think we've kind of fixed some stuff. We still obviously have more. I'm going to have better dialogue in here. It says that I want better dialogue. I don't know if I really do or care about the dialogue that he has with the doctors. Probably should. Let's kick that down so we can work on it separate. The next day I awoke. The next day I awoke. The next day, comma, I awoke and made my The next day I awoke and made my way through the hustle and bustle of the early morning activities of Dorius. I arrived only to find the doctors were fully prepped for the implant and started me off with multiple nanite injections. The nanites would facilitate making a solid connection once the AI was implanted. Okay. Okay, boom. I think we have it up to this point. The next day, I awoke and made my way through the hustle and bustle of the early morning activities of Dorios. I arrived only to find the doctors were fully prepped for the implant and started me off with multiple nanite injections. The nanites would facilitate making solid connections once the AI was implanted. After that, the doctors worked to create temporary connection, to run diagnostics, and make sure we were compatible before starting the operation for permanent implant. Okay, so hold on. I need to click this somewhere else. This is. What? Wait, how did we jump like this? Holy guys. I've done some stupid stuff here. What the heck? I didn't even need this. This is crazy. Why do I have notes up there at the top that we've already done? Some words. Okay, we're gonna go back. We're gonna realize that this note to myself, I don't even know what the crap it is. We're gonna read from here down and find out if I even needed the note. It seems like I didn't, and I should have deleted it long ago, so we got to it and boom. After tossing and turning through most of the night, I woke up early despite the copious amounts of bliss I had consumed. I was bothered by the amount of time that went missing while I was within the AI cyberspace. 6 hours was way longer than it had seemed. And on top of that, my recollection of many of the events within the AI system cyberscape was patchy at best. I had forgotten details. I wait. I had few details I could recall and knew I had seen Amelia in the stasis chamber though. I knew I had seen okay. Okay, I knew I had seen Amelia in the stasis chamber, though. Okay, so we're just going to change this through, okay, chamber through the memories within the AI. But I couldn't recall anything about her. That doesn't sound as bad after I actually used the right word. I linked into the cyber deck. Why does he have the cyber deck with him? Oh, it's his cyber deck. Okay, never mind. I linked into my cyber deck, not the cyber deck. My cyber deck to see if any data would help me recall more. But many of the files were missing from the event. None of it made sense. One thing was for sure though. I had already received multiple messages from Trag, who let me know that he had found a doctor to do the AI implant. I didn't even have a chance to get around or work further to make sense of the situation before I was messaged by the guest console. It was Trag and Salvador. I gave myself a quick check once over before having them come up to my living quarters. I was shocked Salvador had come to my quarters personally and knew something must be going on. Salvador and Trag wasted no time at all with pleasantries. Akio had arranged a doctor to do the implant, but he wanted me to accompany them to. Oh, but he wanted me to accompany them to retrieve Amelia from the prison hold. What? Or Ocris? That's the name of the prison hog. In case there were issues. Salvador said there would be a very large amount of credits for us to split, but they had concerns. Both Salvador and Trag were worried that we could possibly be double crossed in some way and wanted to know if I had friends that might act as some extra muscle just to discourage the idea of betrayal. Okay. As I walked out on the busy streets, Frank and Bruno were there, standing next to Salvador's personal luxury shuttlecraft. After boarding, we all sat quiet as we traveled past the various districts of Dioria's space station. I thought about how badly I wanted to connect to all that information waiting within the AI. I knew a few friends that not only could use the credits, but would be able to try. But I would be able to trust. But I would also be able to trust. I let Salvador and Trag know I would be able to find a few people we could trust. Salvador and Trag. Wait. Salvador let me know he would be able to gather some firepower and a few extra men, so we'd be armed just in case. But he was sure that if we had enough muscle, nothing would happen, and we could all get rich, or we could all be rich. And we could all be rich. And we'd all get rich, and we could all be rich. Okay, and we'd all be rich. The doctor's office was a fancy one in the district of, in the district. The doctor's office was a fancy one in one of the posh districts of Diores, where you would find corporate connected citizens. He seemed pleasant, but worked actively to know as little as possible about what was going on. As we went into the room, I was helped onto the surgery table. The surgical supplies were laid out on a tray. Eric's AI, along with the medical and interface nanites. I was glad to see the medical nanites, knowing I was about to be in a medical stasis pod, recovering for the next few days. I hoped they would shorten the time. As the doctors stood over me, they looked. As the doctors stood over me, the look of concern was apparent. Okay, let's singularize the doctor again. As he mentally prepared himself for the implant surgery. As the doctor readied the sedative, he said, "Sam, I'm going to sedate you. Then we'll establish a temporary connection to get feedback from the AI and allow you to retrieve the data Accio needs before doing a full implant. After we get the information, we need you to create a permanent connection. After we get the information we need. Okay, after we get the information we need, we will finish the implant and flood you with nanites to start creating the permanent connection to the AI. The permanent connection will take multiple injections after you recover to fully establish. I wondered how long the interface nanites would take to make a hard connection between the AI and me. Then, as soon as the doctors ejected me, I found myself drifting off into unconsciousness. Holy shit. A sample. Oh, wait. What the heck? Obviously, we have to read a lot still. The Zarkin. Oh, nope. I knew the temporary connection was established. I found myself standing in a virtual landscape within a basic default avatar. I had been standing on the edge of a boat dock near a calm sea. As I slowly gained more consciousness, I realized I had been standing on the dock for a while. This was a virtual landscape, though, and time moved differently in virtual constructs. I was not sure how long my mind had been there already, but this seemed like a good place, allowing me somewhere to gather myself. I could control almost any aspect I wanted inside the virtual world. As I became more oriented, I had gathered enough sense of myself to explore further into the AI itself. As I explored through the immense data archive on the AI, I found numerous virtual constructs, some of them entire worlds Eric must have created. I found the memory files of when Eric joined Amelia's team. It was during the Zarkin virus outbreak. Amelia had been looking for a talented technopath, and Eric happened to be one of the best. On top of being a leader in the field of cybernetic sciences, Amelia's research group had helped discover the origins of the virus and were working to develop a cure or method to stop the spread. The Zarkin's virus outbreak happened just before the war. Things were peaceful, but the Council of Elven Nations was concerned about the fast-growing number of humans and our out-of-control use of cybernetics and genetic manipulations. At the core, elves lived hundreds of years, only having a couple of children, while humans rapidly outbred them along with many of the other species. Humans were not only fast-growing in population because of their embrace of magic, psionics, cybernetics, and genetic manipulations. Humans were living longer and becoming more and more powerful. With our embrace of genetic splicing, the new forms of hybrid humans made it the fastest expanding species. The Council of Elven Nations wanted a way to reduce the population of humans drastically, along with other species, without starting a war. A sample of a disease from an ancient outbreak was given to the elven dark mages to warp into an even more powerful weapon. One the elves hoped could be blamed on the humans' use of genetic manipulation and what they considered misuse of technology and magic. The disease had originally been from an outbreak that made elves become violent, mindless creatures. The disease had claimed the lives of millions of elves, making its way onto multiple planets before finally being contained. The outbreak was long before the elves had made contact with any of the other species, so the elves were the only one with records of the disease. The disease they managed to create by warping the disease they managed to create by warping the original by warping the original disease with magic was the Zarkin virus. I thought I got that. Boom. We did get it. At first, the spread of the Zarkin virus was contained to just a few small planets, but it quickly grew out of control, devastating the population of most of the larger human worlds. The Zarkin virus would lay dormant in some people for months. Others would get sick and die in hours. Worse, if you got sick from a bite of an infected person, you would die within minutes. Anyone who passed from the Zarkin virus would join the mindless hordes trying to kill the remaining living. Within less than 10 years, the human population, along with the populations of many other alien races, were reduced. Amelia had created multiple strains of the virus, which all failed. Then she turned... strains of vaccine, which all failed. Then she turned to finding ways to modify the disease, hoping to change it at its very core. Eric had worked with Amelia on every aspect of her project, slowly developing a relationship with her. As the virus continued to spread and take lives, Amelia started to work to change the virus into a weapon mankind could strike the elves back with. I was not sure how long I had been given. Wait. I was not sure how long I had been given with the Oh, that's weird. I was not sure how long I had been given with the temporary connection, but it seemed like days before the connection was finally cut and everything faded to dark. Then suddenly I could feel the medical stasis pod working to revive me. I would have more time to explore the memories Eric had stored on the AI implant after I developed a permanent connection. I awoke disoriented, finding Trag asleep in a chair and the doctor standing in front of the stasis pod, waiting for me to wake up. I could feel the near-field connection with the AI, but it was clear the nanites had not finished making the physical connection between me and the AI. The doctor worked to examine me, checking to see that everything went right. Then asked, "So did you manage to get the information for Akio?" I replied, "Absolutely. I got the location he needed." The doctor said, "Glad to hear. Akio will be happy. You will need to inject these constructor nanites." Ooh, do we want to call them that? Yeah, let's do. Once a day till they create a permanent link with your AI implant. I took the injectors from the doctor, then woke Trag from his watchful sleep so we could go. Okay, so we did actually have chapter 5 done. I don't know why I still had notes up here. I obviously didn't need them. We're going to delete that out. Thank God, right? You guys are like, yeah, thank gosh. Boom. Okay. It looks like we have successfully read through chapter 5. It's not perfect. I might read through it again at some other time, but it does look like we are edited up to chapter 5. Crazy enough, we are ripping through this. Guys, this book is actually pretty well done. Minus, like, I probably should look over this the night before we stream, but, you know, that's just its own thing. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you guys have a great day. Good rest of the week. I'll be back tomorrow morning. We're ripping through this book, so this isn't going to be that hard. I hope you all have a just epic and amazing day, and peace and very best wishes.